Sorry about that. Everyone hear me okay? Hey, Lisa. Hey, Marianne. Can you hear me now? You should be able to. So, anyway, like I was saying, I'm sorry I'm a little late. Uh, but, you know, gotta do what you gotta do, right? So, anyway, uh, I'm because I'm not able to do my edited videos, and I don't know when I'll be able to do my edited videos. Um, I can um, I can print with my left hand, but uh, I can't. It's not as legible as I can do it with my right hand, and because of that, uh, you know, it's just not a good thing. So anyway, so I don't know when I'll be doing the edited videos again. Hopefully sometime soon. Um, I am still recovering, still in a lot of pain, but hey, you know, at least everything's back in place, right? Uh, so silver lining. Alrighty. Now, getting on to what we came for, making fun of the Bible. Yay! By the way, um, yeah, uh, if you take offense at this, maybe you should look at your religion. Okay, just saying. I've had some people take offense at my live streams. Just saying, if you take offense at this, maybe you should be looking at your religion instead of bitching at me. If you want to bitch at me, that's fine. I don't care. You can bitch at me. Um, but take a hard look at your religion if this offends you. Okay? That's all I'm saying. Alrighty. We are in First Samuel chapter 6. And why don't I just go ahead and share the screen? So give me a minute here. There we go. Alrighty. First Samuel chapter 6, verse 1. When the ark of the Lord had been in Philistine territory 7 months, the Philistines called for the priests and the diviners and said, "What shall we do with the ark of the Lord? Tell us how we should send it back to its place." Okay, so remember last week um, we stopped at the Philistines had a battle with the Israelites and took the Ark of the Covenant of the Lord, which I don't know, doesn't really make any sense because um, a story from later on in either First or Second Samuel or First or Second Kings, it's gonna have a story about a guy who sees the Ark of the Covenant kind of flailing about, and he doesn't want um, the Ark to fall, so he goes up and tries to study the Ark, and God kills him. Which, I mean, God's a bastard for doing that. I mean, like, why are you doing that, God? It's like he's trying to help you, you motherfucker, and all you're doing is just killing people. But anyway, that's later on in the story. So I don't know why these Philistines, why God didn't just kill these Philistines, you know. Of course, it's all made up bullshit, but uh, just something for you Christians to think about. Verse 3, they answered, if you return the ark of the God of Israel, do not send it back to him without a gift. By all means, send a guilt offering to him. Then you will be healed, and you will know why his hand has not been lifted from you. The Philistines asked, what guilt offering should we send him? Okay, so this is an interesting conversation between the Philistines and their priests. Apparently, guilt offerings weren't just an Israelite thing. Now, obviously, I don't think any of this ever happened because Israel didn't even exist at this point, but let's just pretend we're in make believe land anyway. So let's just pretend, hey, the freak. So let's just pretend this is happening, right? So if the Philistines are talking about guilt offerings, um, why does God need to um outline what he wants uh his guilt offerings to be and blah 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 blah? I mean, it doesn't really make any sense, does it? I mean, if guilt offerings are commonplace, which, you know, if you extrapolate from this verse, the Philistines gave guilt offerings. So, you know, you would think it's commonplace in the ancient Mideast to give guilt offerings, whether it's to the Israel God or Dagon or whoever, you know. So anyway, um, so this tells me that Israel doesn't have the doesn't have the market cornered on these kinds of offerings. Now, if you've watched my channel for any period of time, you know as well as I know that the Jewish religion borrowed heavily from the Canaanite religion. And I do mean heavily, you know. And this is just one more thing to cement that, you know. And so it just because you have a novelty god called Yahweh doesn't mean your fucking religion is novel. There's no religion that's novel under the sun. I mean, there just isn't. And give me a break. So you've got the Bible implicitly stating that they stole uh, parts of the Canaanite religion, probably all of the Canaanite religion, if we're being honest with ourselves, because Asher, a queen of heaven, was worshipped even up until the Babylonian exile. So was Baal, interesting enough. So anyway, it doesn't really make any sense. I I don't know what these idiots are thinking. All right, moving on. They replied, Dagon's priests, that is, replied, 5 gold tumors. I have no idea what a tumor is. It's spelled the same way as, something that comes out of your body, but um, I don't know what a tumor is in this context. I know what a tumor is in the medical context, so don't come for me, okay? 5 gold tumors and 5 gold rats, according to the number of the Philistine rulers, because the same plague has struck both you and your rulers. Make models of the tumors and of the rats that are destroying the country and give glory to Israel's God. Okay, so apparently they're going to try to mimic in gold like one of the tumors that killed their people. That's all I can gather from this absolute idiotic shit bed of a. This is bizarre. This is just bizarre. Hey, the freak. Yeah, there's a dick joke in there somewhere. All right, moving on. Perhaps he will lift his hand from you and your gods and your land. Why do you harden your hearts as the Egyptians and Pharaoh did? When Israel's God dealt harshly with them, did they not send the Israelites out so they could go on their way? Okay, so apparently God's not mad at the Philistines because they're worshiping Dagon. God's mad at the Philistines because they took his dwelling place away from Shiloh. Tell me about it, Lisa. Hey, Mr. Shadow Kitty. Uh, the freak. This is First Samuel chapter 6 in the NIV. Okay, moving on. Now then, get a new cart ready with 2 cows that have calved and have never been yoked. Hitch the cows to the cart, but take their calves away and pin them up. Okay. Moving on. Take the ark of the Lord and put it on the cart, and in a chest beside it, Put the gold objects you are sending back to him as a guilt offering. Send it on its way, but keep watching it. If it goes up to its own territory toward Beth Shemesh, then the Lord has brought this great disaster on us. But if it does not, then we will know it was not his hand that struck us, but it happened to us by chance. Um, dudes, I doubt that Israel God brought anything on you, considering he's a figment of your imagination. Verse 10. So they did this. They took 2 such cows and hitched them to the cart and pinned up their calves. They placed the ark of the Lord on the cart, and along with it the chest containing the gold rats and the models of the tumors. Then the cows went straight up toward Beth Shemesh, keeping on the road and lowing all the way. They did not turn to the right or to the left. The rulers of the Philistines followed them as far as the border of Beth Shemesh. Now the people of Beth Shemesh were harvesting their wheat in the valley, and when they looked up and saw the ark, they rejoiced at the sight. The cart came to the field of Joshua of Beth Shemesh, and there it stopped beside a large rock. The people chopped up the wood of the cart and sacrificed the cows as a burnt offering to the Lord. The Levites took down the ark of the Lord together with the chest containing the gold objects and placed them on the large rock. On that day, the people of Beth Shemesh offered burnt offerings and made sacrifices to the Lord. The 5 rulers of the Philistines saw all this and then returned that same day to Ekron. Okay. That's just that's just that just blows my mind. Seriously. Hey, scapegoat. You have to be an absolutely fucking idiot to buy all this nonsense. You know? I mean, even when this was written, when it was, and by the way, it's not written when it's purported to have been written. Israel didn't even exist in this period. Israel didn't exist until after the Bronze Age collapse, okay? Let's get that straight right away. But anyway, it even if you didn't know that Israel never existed at this stage in history, what do you need to tell you? What more do you need to tell you that this is just absolute bonkers? All right, moving on. Verse 17, these are the gold tumors the Philistines sent as a guilt offering to the Lord, one each for Ashdod, Gaza, Ashkelon, Gath, and Ekron. And the number of the gold rats was according to the number of Philistine towns belonging to the 5 rulers, the fortified towns with their country villages. The large rock on which the Levites set the ark of the Lord is a witness to this day in the field of Joshua of Beth Shemesh. Well, that's great. Why don't you give us the coordinates of that rock in the field of Joshua of Beth Shemesh so we can go down there and see if it still exists, if it ever did exist in the first place. And yes, I realize that, you know, even if this did happen, it happened a long time ago, and the rock probably isn't there anymore. But come on, archaeologists can do amazing shit nowadays, okay? It's amazing that these idiot Bible authors don't really give any specific details about anything. Uh, Verse 19. But God struck down some of the inhabitants of Beth Shemesh, putting 70 of them to death because they looked into the ark of the Lord. Jesus fucking Christ. What is wrong with this God? Oh, can't have people looking in my fucking ark. Can't have people looking in my fucking ark because, that's supposed to be like, the mercy seat and all that. And I'm supposed to be in the ark, and people are going to find out I'm not in the ark. So, that blows my cover right there. Can't have that. Jesus fucking Christ. What an idiot God. God, if you want people to worship you, this really isn't the best way to do it. Moving on, the people mourned because of the heavy blow the Lord had dealt them. It wasn't just heavy, you idiots. It was uncalled for. Verse 20, and the people of Beth Shemesh asked, who can stand in the presence of the Lord, this holy God? To whom will the ark go up from here? Well, I don't know, you idiots. Why don't you call the priests from Shiloh so it can go back to the fucking tabernacle? Moving on, verse 21. Then they sent messengers to the people of Kiriath Jearim, saying, the Philistines have returned the ark of the Lord. Come down and take it up to your town. Jesus fucking Christ. All right. These people really do excel at making themselves look like goddamn fucking idiots. Okie dokie. Verse 7, or chapter 7, rather. Moving on. So the men of Kiriath Jearim came and took up the ark of the Lord. What is this? Did you not? Did you already forget that the priests are the only ones that are supposed to touch the fucking ark of God, you idiots? They brought it back to Aminadab's house on the hill and consecrated Eleazar his son to guard the ark of the Lord. The ark remained at Kiriath Jearim a long time, 20 years in all. What is this? Oh my fucking God. They can't even keep up with their own story. They can't even keep their fucking story straight. They can't even keep their fucking story straight. Jesus fucking God. They called some idiots from Curious Jerem to come get the ark. I would have said, no fucking way. No fucking way. Jesus fucking Christ. I mean, these people didn't live, okay? But the people who wrote the Bible and edited the Bible are goddamn fucking idiots. And for any Christians out there, yes, the Bible has been edited several fucking times. So I have no idea what the fuck these people are thinking. Moving on. Then all the people of Israel turned back to the Lord. Verse 3. So Samuel, well, finally we get back to Samuel. So Samuel said to all the Israelites, if you are returning to the Lord with all your hearts, then rid yourselves of the foreign gods and the Ashtoreths, and commit yourselves to the Lord and serve him only, and he will deliver you out of the hands of the Philistines. So the Israelites put away their Baals and Ashtoreths and served the Lord only. No, they didn't. Again, please keep in mind the Israelites were not monotheistic until the Babylonian exile. That is when they became monotheistic. And not even all of them became monotheistic after that. What is wrong with these idiots? Okay? Um, they always worshipped Baal. They always worshipped Ashtaroth. They always worshipped Anat. I mean, I talk about how bloody Yahweh was all the time, but Anat was a lot bloodier, let me tell you. And I'm going to be doing a series on the Canaanite goddesses when my arm heals. But Anat was a fucking warrior goddess who didn't give a fuck who she killed. Moving on. Verse 5. Then Samuel said, assemble all Israel at Mizpah, and I will intercede with the Lord for you. When they had assembled at Mizpah, they drew the water and poured it out before the Lord. On that day they fasted, and there they confessed, we have sinned against the Lord. Now Samuel was serving as leader of Israel at Mizpah. Again, not true. Verse 7. When the Philistines heard that Israel had assembled at Mizpah, the rulers of the Philistines came up to attack them. Why? See, this is what doesn't make sense. You know, you would think, you know, hey, the Philistines, should have learned their lesson if this shit really happened, which it didn't, right? But if this shit really happened, don't you think the Philistines would have learned their goddamn lesson? I mean, they're not fucking morons. Probably scapegoat. Probably. Well, why would they? Scapegoat says, in other words, they have no fucking idea what blessing or worship or prayer is unless their pastor tells them. Well, why would they scapegoat? They don't even read their own fucking book. So, anyway, all right, moving on. Uh, so the Philistines are attacking them again. Like, that's ever going to happen. Like, after they get shot down with tumors and rats and all that shit, they're really gonna come up against Israel again because, you know, that's a fucking idiot thing to do, you know. It, you know, whatever. Moving on, verse 8. They said to Samuel, "Do not stop crying out to the Lord our God for us, that he may rescue us from the hand of the Philistines." Then Samuel took a suckling lamb and sacrificed it as a whole burnt offering to the Lord. He cried out to the Lord on Israel's behalf, and the Lord answered him. While Samuel was sacrificing the burnt offering, the Philistines drew near to engage Israel in battle. But that day the Lord thundered with loud thunder against the Philistines and threw them into such a panic that they were routed before the Israelites. The men of Israel rushed out of Mizpah and pursued the Philistines, slaughtering them along the way to a point below Beth Kar. All right, I'm gonna stop here. I need to wet my whistle, so I'll be right back. Yeah, scapegoat. Yeah, I mean they would lose their fucking um sheeple if their sheeple actually read their fucking book. You know, I mean, come on. It's as simple as that. Alrighty. Moving on. Then verse 12. Then Samuel took a stone and set it up between Mizpah and Shin. He named it Ebenezer, saying, "Thus far the Lord has helped us." Yeah, he killed 70 of your people just because they peeked into the ark of the Lord. Yeah, he's helping you all right. Jesus fucking Christ. Verse 13. So the Philistines were subdued, and they stopped invading Israel's territory. Throughout Samuel's lifetime, the hand of the Lord was against the Philistines. The towns from Ekron to Gath that the Philistines had captured from Israel were restored to Israel, and Israel delivered the neighboring territory from the hands of the Philistines. And there was peace between Israel and the Amorites. Okay, so where did the fucking Amorites come in at? You were just talking about the Philistines, who, by the way, were not the Amorites. Why the fuck are you talking about the Amorites now, you stupid fucking people? The Amorites haven't made a. The Amorites haven't even made a cameo in this part of the story yet. You You people really need to get your shit together. You really don't tell stories all that well. Verse 15. Samuel continued as Israel's leader all the days of his life. From year to year, he went on a circuit from Bethel to Gilgal to Mizpah, judging Israel in all those places. But he always went back to Ramah, where his home was, and there he also held court for Israel, and he built an altar there for the Lord. Jesus fucking Christ. Alrighty. That's the end of chapter 7. Um, so let's see. Do we have any good comments? So anyway, my dad's talking to the cats. We talk to our cats, by the way. You know, if you don't understand that, I don't know what to tell you. You know, anyway, it's fucking moronic. This whole book is fucking moronic, you know? And Christians are like, well, there's good advice in there. I'm like, there's not good advice in there that you can't find from other fucking religions. I mean, you can find that good advice in Buddhism without all that shit about blood and sacrifice and gore and all that shit. Hey, limited light. All right, moving on. Chapter 8. When Samuel grew old, he appointed his sons as Israel's leaders. The name of his firstborn was Joel. Another L name, mind you. Another L name. And the name of his second was Abijah, and they served at Beersheba. But his sons did not follow his ways. They turned aside after dishonest gain and accepted bribes and perverted justice. Are we on a merry-go-round? Didn't we just see this with Eliezer's sons? So, you know, seriously, are we on a merry-go-round here? Seems to me they just copied and pasted their shit. They're like, we don't have any more shit, so let's just copy paste. Except we're going to have different names because we can't have our people knowing that we're copy pasting shit. Otherwise, they'll catch on that this is just a bunch of bullshit that we're spewing. Verse 4. So all the elders of Israel gathered together and came to Samuel at Ramah. They said to him, you are old, and your sons do not follow your ways. Now appoint a king to lead us, such as all the other nations have. Sounds reasonable to me. I mean, what they're asking for, they're basically saying, look, Samuel, your fucking sons are fucking idiots. They're leading us in the wrong direction, and we want to be led in the right direction. And the way we can be led in the right direction, we think, is to have a fucking king over us, just like everybody else has a king over them. Plus, we get protection from that king. What's the goddamn problem with that? But Samuel does have a problem. Verse 6. But when they said, give us a king to lead us, this displeased Samuel. Why? Why does it displease Samuel? He's not going to be living very long anyway. So he prayed to the Lord. Verse 7. And the Lord told him, listen to all that the people are saying to you. It is not you they have rejected, but they have rejected me as their king. Well, it's about goddamn time that these people wised up to the fact that their leaders are just screwing with them. Unfortunately, their kings are going to screw with them too, so we shall see, right? Verse 8, as they have done from the day I brought them out of Egypt until this day, forsaking me and serving other gods, so they are doing to you. Now listen to them, but warn them solemnly and let them know what the king who will reign over them will claim as his rights. Well, hello, a king needs certain things, like he needs a standing army so he can protect you idiots because you don't want to protect yourselves or whatever. So he's going to need money, like, duh. There are two things you can't escape in life, you idiots: taxes and death. Of course, if you ask Kent Hovind, you can even cheat on your taxes and then spend 10 fucking years in prison and never have to pay a dime in back taxes. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Verse 10. Samuel told all the words of the Lord to the people who were asking him for a king. He said, this is what the king who will reign over you will claim as his rights. He will take your sons and make them serve with his chariots and horses. Well, like, duh, because the king needs a standing army. Where else do you think he's going to get his army from? And they will run in front of his chariots. Yeah, because the king's kind of important. You don't want to put your most important person out in front. He, verse 12. Some he will assign to be commanders of thousands and commanders of fifties, and others to plow his ground and reap his harvest, and still others to make weapons of war and equipment for his chariots, which is pretty reasonable considering you need to feed all these fucking people. I mean, hell, if you want to be protected, you got to feed your protectors. What's wrong with this? And when Samuel says some he will assign to be commanders of thousands and commanders of fifties, sounds like he's elevating them to places of honor. So what's wrong with that, dipshits? Okay, verse 13. He will take your daughters to be perfumers and cooks and bakers. Yeah, again, what's wrong with that? They're going to be doing it anyway. He will take the best of your fields and vineyards and olive groves and give them to his attendants. He will take a tenth of your grain and of your vintage and give it to his officials and attendants, your male and female servants, and the best of your cattle and donkeys. That's a weird thing to throw in there. Donkeys. Anyway, he will take for his own use. Yeah, and what exactly is wrong with that? He will take a tenth of your flocks, and you yourselves will become his slaves. When that day comes, you will cry out for relief from the king you have chosen, but the Lord will not answer you in that day. All right, before we go on, I just want to point out that God himself chooses their fucking king. So, God saying, hey, you're the ones that chose a king. No, they fucking didn't. No, they fucking didn't. God chose the goddamn king. What are you talking about, you fucking moron God? This is supposed to be a wise God, a God that we're supposed to worship, and he's so fucking moronic. he can't even keep a story straight? Yeah, right, Lisa? At least we can see a king, right? We know we've got a king. If we've got a king, we know we have a fucking king. Jesus. All right. Verse 19. But the people refused to listen to Samuel. Goddamn right. It's about time they got something right. No, they said, we want a king over us. Then we will be like all the other nations, with a king to lead us and to go out before us and fight our battles. Again, sounds perfectly understandable. When Samuel heard all that the people said, he repeated it before the Lord. The Lord answered, listen to them and give them a king. Then Samuel said to the Israelites, everyone go back to your own town. Well, that was anticlimactic. Alrighty. Chapter 9. There was a Benjamite, a man of standing, whose name was Kish, son of Abiel, son of Zeror, son of Becheroth, son of Aphiah of Benjamin. Kish had a son named Saul, as handsome a young man as could be found anywhere in Israel, and he was a head taller than anyone else. Why are you telling us he's a head taller than anyone else? Like, that's not really important to the story. I mean, seriously. Learn how to tell a fucking story. Bye, the freak. Now, the donkeys belonging to Saul's father Kish were lost, and Kish said to his son Saul, take one of the servants with you and go and look for the donkeys. So he passed through the hill country of Ephraim and through the area around Shalisha, but they did not find them. They went on into the district of Shalem, but the donkeys were not there. Then he passed through the territory of Benjamin, but they did not find them. When they reached the district of Zuph, Saul said to the servant who was with him, come, let's go back, or my father will stop thinking about the donkeys and start worrying about us. Exactly right. Verse 6. But the servant replied, look, in this town there is a man of God. He is highly respected, and everything he says comes true. Let's go there now. Perhaps he will tell us what way to take. So wait a minute. Wait a minute. We've got a servant who in those days isn't worth a goddamn. Okay? I'm not saying that people aren't worth anything, because they certainly are, but back then, come on, they just weren't, you know? So then you've got a servant saying, hey, look, there's a man of God here. Why didn't Saul know there was a man of God there? My God, these people who wrote this are such fucking idiots. I know, right, scapegoat? Like, if he's omniscient, he's pretty fucking dumb. Of course, I don't believe in this God anyway, but anyway, moving on. Verse 7. Saul said to his servant, if we go, what can we give the man? The food in our sacks is gone. We have no gift to take to the man of God. What do we have? Why does a man of God fucking need a gift? I mean, if he's a man of God, shouldn't God take care of all his needs and wants? Verse 8. The servant answered him again, look, He said, I have a quarter of a shekel of silver. I will give it to the man of God so that he will tell us what way to take. Formerly in Israel, if someone went to inquire of God, they would say, Come, let us go to the seer, because the prophet of today used to be called a seer. Verse 10, Good, Saul said to his servant. Come, let's go. So they set out for the town where the man of God was. So, wait a minute. The servant knew there was a man of God, but he didn't know the man of God's name. Learn to tell a fucking story. Good God. Verse 11. As they were going up the hill to the town, they met some young women coming out to draw water, and they asked them, Is the seer here? He is, they answered. He's ahead of you. Hurry now. He has just come to our town today, for the people have a sacrifice at the high place. As soon as you enter the town, you will find him before he goes up to the high place to eat. The people will not begin eating until he comes, because he must bless the sacrifice. Afterward, those who are invited will eat. Go up now. You should find him about this time. They went up to the town, and as they were entering it, there was Samuel coming toward them on his way up to the high place. Okay, so you may not know what a high place is. It's just it's another name for an altar, basically. I know, right? Alrighty, moving on. Um Verse 15. Now the day before Saul came, the Lord had revealed this to Samuel. About this time tomorrow I will send you a man from the land of Benjamin. Anoint him ruler over my people Israel. He will deliver them from the hand of the Philistines. I have looked on my people, for their cries have reached me. Exactly. So Israel didn't choose their fucking king. God chose their fucking king. What is wrong with you people? Again, you can't tell a fucking story. Verse 17. When Samuel caught sight of Saul, the Lord said to him, This is the man I spoke to you about. He will govern my people. Saul approached Samuel in the gateway and asked, Would you please tell me where the seer's house is? Verse 19. I am the seer, Samuel replied. Go up ahead of me to the high place, for today you are to eat with me, and in the morning I will send you on your way and tell you all that is in your heart. As for the donkeys you lost 3 days ago, do not worry about them. They have been found. And to whom is all the desire of Israel turned, if not to you and your whole family line? Well, that's a goddamn fucking lie, because, in about, I don't know, 30, 50 years or so, I don't know how fucking long, God's going to end this fucking line. You know, I mean, he's going to end the male line. Okay, his offspring will live on in his daughters, but hell, the Israelites are patriarchy. They don't care about women. Verse 21. Saul answered, But am I not a Benjamite from the smallest tribe of Judah? And is not my clan the least of all the clans of the tribe of Benjamin? Why do you say such a thing to me? Then Samuel brought Saul and his servant into the hall and seated them at the head of those who were invited, about 30 in number. Samuel said to the cook, Bring the piece of meat I gave you, the one I told you to lay aside. So the cook took up the thigh with what was on it and set it in front of Saul. Samuel said, "Here is what has been kept for you. Eat, because it was set aside for you for this occasion from the time I said, I have invited guests." And Saul dined with Samuel that day. After they came down from the high place to the town, Samuel talked with Saul on the roof of his house. They rose about daybreak, and Samuel called to Saul on the roof, "Get ready, and I will send you on your way." When Saul got ready, he and Samuel went outside together. As they were going down to the edge of town, Samuel said to Saul, "Tell the servant to go ahead of us." And the servant did so. "But you stay here for a while, so that I may give you a message from God." Okay, so finally, thank you, SPM. Appreciate that very much. How you doing today? So, well, my God. Finally, we get into an interesting story. It's still lacking in storytelling, but you know what? What can you do? Uh, Chapter 10. Then Samuel took a flask of olive oil and poured it on Saul's head and kissed him, saying, "Has not the Lord anointed you ruler over his inheritance? When you leave me today, you will meet two men near Rachel's tomb at Zelzah on the border of Benjamin. They will say to you, 'The donkeys you set out to look for have been found, and now your father has stopped thinking about them and is worried about you. He is asking, what shall I do about my son?' Then you will go from there until you reach the great tree of Tabor. Three men going up to worship God at Bethel will meet you there. One will be carrying the three young goats, another 3 loaves of bread, and another a skin of wine. They will greet you and offer you 2 loaves of bread, which you will accept from them. After that, you will go to Gibeah of God, where there is a Philistine outpost. As you approach the town, you will meet a procession of prophets coming down from the high place with lyres, timbrels, pipes, and harps being played before them, and they will be prophesying. The Spirit of the Lord will come powerfully upon you, and you will prophesy with them, and you will be changed into a different person. Once these signs are fulfilled, do whatever your hand finds to do, for your God is with you. Go down ahead of me to Gilgal. I will surely come down to you to sacrifice burnt offerings and fellowship offerings. But you must wait 7 days until I come to you and tell you what you are to do." Alrighty. So basically, okay. So remember, God is like fucking responsible for all the shit he's made his people go through. Hey, Pixie. God is responsible for all the fucking shit that he's made his people go through. And, you know, and I guess he's gonna say, well, um, Saul Saul didn't listen to me. Well, you're the one that made him not listen to you, you fuckwad. Anyway, moving on. Yeah, you can tell I'm getting kind of mad. Like I haven't been mad this whole time. This fucking book is a fucking nightmare. All right, verse 9. As Saul turned to leave Samuel, God changed Saul's heart, and all these signs were fulfilled that day. When he and his servant arrived at Gibeah, a procession of prophets met him. The Spirit of God came powerfully upon him, and he joined in their prophesying. When all those who had formerly known him saw him prophesying with the prophets, they asked each other, "What is this that has happened to the son of Kish? Is Saul also among the prophets?" A man who lived there answered, "And who is their father?" So it became a saying, "Is Saul also among the prophets?" After Saul stopped prophesying, he went to the high place. Okay, I just gotta say this. It sounds like these fucking idiots just forgot what they were fucking saying and inserted verse 12 because it doesn't make any goddamn sense. All right. Verse 14. Now Saul's uncle asked him and his servant, "Where have you been?" "Looking for the donkeys," he said. "But when we saw they were not to be found, we went to Samuel." Saul's uncle said, "Tell me what Samuel said to you." Okay, so wait a minute. So Saul's uncle knows who Samuel is. So let me get this straight. Let me get this straight. Saul's uncle knows who Samuel is. So he knows Samuel is a seer. But instead of saying, "Hey, Saul," instead of looking all around for these donkeys, why don't you go over here and ask Samuel where the donkeys are? Because he's a seer. He can tell you right away. No, Saul and his servant have to go all the fucking way around all these places, waste their time when their uncle could have said, "Hey, yo, yeah, Samuel's a prophet. He can tell you." What the fuck? Alrighty. Verse 16. Saul replied, "He assured us that the donkeys had been found," but he did not tell his uncle what Samuel had said about the kingship. Samuel summoned the people of Israel to the Lord at Mizpah and said to them, "This is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says. I brought Israel up out of Egypt, and I delivered you from the power of Egypt and all the kingdoms that oppressed you." That was a bold-faced lie. And I thought God couldn't lie. Oh well, he's always been a liar though, right? So are we really surprised? Moving on, verse 19. But you have now rejected your God, who saves you out of all your disasters and calamities. Oh, really? He saves them out of all their disasters and calamities. Uh-huh. Sure. Tell us another one, Samuel. And you have said, "No, appoint a king over us." So now present yourselves before the Lord by your tribes and clans. Verse 20. When Samuel had all Israel come forward by tribes, the tribe of Benjamin was taken by lot. You know, I thought gambling was against God's law. I guess if God gives it the go ahead, it's fine. As long as God gives it the green light, right? All right, moving on. Verse 21. Then he brought forward the tribe of Benjamin, clan by clan, and Matri's clan was taken. I feel like there's a sex joke in there somewhere, but I will refrain. Finally, Saul, son of Kish, was taken. When they looked for him, he was not to be found. So they inquired further of the Lord, "Has the man come here yet?" And the Lord said, "Yes, he has hidden himself among the supplies." So Saul doesn't really seem like a bad dude. He doesn't seem like he deserved all the shit that God gave him later on in his life. Alrighty, verse 23. They ran and brought him out, and as he stood among the people, he was a head taller than any of the others. Like I said, random tangent. Verse 24. Samuel said to all the people, "Do you see the man the Lord has chosen?" Again, the Lord has chosen, not the people of Israel has chosen. The Lord has chosen. Okay? I don't know why Christians can't see the obvious um um ironies in this book. Of course, I can't really blame them. Until I read the thing, I was just like them. So, verse 24 or verse 23. They ran out and brought him, and he stood among the people. He was a head taller, blah, blah, blah. Verse 24. Samuel said to all the people, "Do you see the man the Lord has chosen? There is no one like him among all the people." Well, Samuel, unless you're an identical twin, uh, there is going to be nobody like anybody else. I don't see what the problem is. Then the people shouted, "Long live the king!" Verse 25. Samuel explained to the people the rights and duties of kingship. He wrote them down on a scroll and deposited it before the Lord. Then Samuel dismissed the people to go to their own homes. Saul also went to his home in Gibeah, accompanied by valiant men whose hearts God had touched. But some scoundrels said, "How can this fellow save us?" They despised him and brought him no gifts. But Saul kept silent. Yeah, like I said, Saul doesn't seem like such a bad dude right now, does he? No, blessed be he. There's nobody to trust in. Go read your fucking book. Figure it out. How can I take everything out of context, blessed be he? I'm reading it in context. How can I be taking things out of context when I'm literally reading things in context? You have no fucking clue what you're talking about. Chapter 11. Thank goodness. Last chapter of the day, peeps. Chapter 11. Nahash, the Ammonite, went up and besieged Jabesh Gilead. And all the men of Jabesh said to him, "Make a treaty with us, and we will be subject to you." Uh, you people really need to figure out how to do segues. Verse 2. But Nahash the Ammonite replied, "I will make a treaty with you only on the condition that I gouge out the right eye of every one of you, and so bring disgrace on all Israel." What the fuck? Well, I mean, I can't really be all that surprised because their fucking moronic god has bloodlust like all the fucking time. So, I mean, I can't really say I'm surprised. Yeah, thank you, scapegoat. How can I be taking things out of context when I'm absolutely positively reading from your fucking book. Jesus. Verse 3. The elders of Jabesh said to him, "Give us 7 days so we can send messengers throughout Israel. If no one comes to rescue us, we will surrender to you." When the messengers came to Gibeah of Saul and reported these terms to the people, they all wept aloud. Just then Saul was returning from the fields behind his oxen, and he asked, "What is wrong with everyone? Why are they weeping?" Then they repeated to him what the men of Jabesh had said. When Saul heard their words, the Spirit of God came powerfully upon him, and he burned with anger. I'm sure there's a sex joke in there somewhere. Verse 7. He took a pair of oxen, cut them into pieces, and sent the pieces by messengers throughout Israel, proclaiming, "This is what will be done to the oxen of anyone who does not follow Saul and Samuel." Way to go, just throwing Samuel in there. Like, he doesn't have anything to do with this. Alrighty. Then the terror of the Lord fell on the people, and they came together as one. When Saul mustered them at Bezek, the men of Israel numbered 300,000, and those of Judah 30,000. They told the messengers who had come, "Say to the men of Jabesh Gilead, by the time the sun is hot tomorrow, you will be rescued." When the messengers went and reported this to the men of Jabesh, they were elated. They said to the Ammonites, "Tomorrow we will surrender to you, and you can do to us whatever you like." The next day, Saul separated his men into 3 divisions. During the last watch of the night, they broke into the camp of the Ammonites and slaughtered them until the heat of the day. Those who survived were scattered, so that no two of them were left together. Bloodlust, like you would expect. Blessed means happy. In another context, it can mean favored by God. Yep, Lisa. God created us broken and commands us to be well. What kind of an idiotic God is that? Blessed be he. If you are still here, you really need to hear what I've got to say, because, you know, you're saying I'm taking things out of context when I'm literally reading the goddamn context. Verse 12. The people then said to Samuel, "Who was it that asked, 'Shall Saul reign over us?' Turn these men over to us so that we may put them to death." What? Again, that needs a segue. But Saul said, "No one will be put to death today, for this day the Lord has rescued Israel." Then Samuel said to the people, "Come, let us go to Gilgal, and there renew the kingship." Wait a minute. Renew the kingship? So they had a king before Saul? Um, that doesn't follow. Why would they be renewing? a kingship if Saul's already king? Does this make any fucking sense? Am I the only one who's just seeing disjointed shit all over the place? It's like, oh, we can't figure out what to do here, so we're just gonna throw it in a little verse here that has nothing to do with any of the other verses, you know. Ugh. I would face palm, but you know, I I need a football helmet if I'm gonna face palm. Bye, Marianne. I mean, seriously. This is like seriously messed up. This is like seriously messed up. And Christians want to follow this God. Christians want to follow this God. Why? Why? Because you think if you don't, he's gonna throw you in a lake of fire? Well, I got news for you. There is no hell. There's no heaven either. But why would you even want to live forever with this monster of a God so you can suck his dick and lick his balls for the rest of eternity? Why? Oh, blessed be he. This is just my rant. My Saturday live stream and Atheist Church are saved for rants. If you want my educational stuff, find my fucking edited videos. And let me tell you something, your fucking book doesn't mean, well, first of all, it doesn't mean anything to me because I don't believe in your fucking God. And second, your book doesn't even say what your idiot leader says it says to begin with. And while we're on the topic, the Gospels were not written by eyewitnesses. Because I know you're going to bring that up at some point. So anyway, but yeah, so I'm gonna go. Um yeah, I had fun with this one. Got really riled up, blood pressure got up and everything. But I'm gonna go take some pain medicine because I really need some, you know. My arm's fucking killing me. And my arm is getting better. They For anyone who's interested, they did do surgery on Monday, and it's just got to heal. They had to put plates and screws, and all that good stuff. And she even had to the orthopedist had to put it back in place when she opened up my arm because it wasn't back in place all the way. So that's healing too. So, good to go. So, anyway, I will see you guys later. And I am still working on Fundy Fridays. And, you know, so hit the like button, press the subscribe button, yada, yada, yada. If you'd like to become a member, please become a member. You can join for as low as 99 cents a month. I will see you tomorrow for Atheist Church and have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye, beautiful people.